What's up, beautiful people? It's Mike James again of P&Z Life Coaching, and I'm coming at you again with another episode of Black Business Booming. Thank you to everybody that's watched the episodes thus far and that's been supporting this. As always, I encourage you to like, subscribe, and share. And also all the information that'll be coming at you with everyone who I interview. Also, make sure you link up to that. So I'm excited. I got another person on here, another Black business that's booming, and I'm excited to learn more about just because of what it is and also who this is, man. It's the first time having someone that's fam on the Black Business Booming segment. So, man, introduce yourself. Tell people who you are and your business and any background about yourself.
Yeah. So my name's Kelyn Lanier. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for the past decade and some change. What I'm talking about with you guys here today is a nonprofit that I started a few years back called Alloi Progress Incubator. So Alloi actually started out as a healthcare company. So that's just a little fun fact. But what we found is that, the people that we serve, which was primarily the Black community, we couldn't even get to that level because there were so many other basic needs in the Black community that were unaddressed. So we just changed everything, changed the name to what we're here today. My background is actually it's a really weird title. So it's in industrial organizational psychology. But my doctoral work was in complex adaptive systems, human systems. So some pretty, I guess, niche stuff there.
Right.
But outside of academic, most of my business work has been in healthcare, pharmacy consulting, pharmacy management, technology, staffing, kind of the whole gamut. That was a business that my brother and I started in technically 2010, got it registered in 2011 and so on. So, it's, my stuff is mostly, they always say that I was kind of in the shadows. So I would do all the back end stuff that no one ever wanted to do.
Right.
Yeah.
So I hope y'all heard that brief intro. Just an educated brother right here, man. It was almost so easily said when you said my doctoral work, So that's awesome, man. Again, another reason why I'm excited, man, because just a smart brother, man, who's doing some great stuff. So tell everybody kind of where you're from and where you're located.
Yeah. I'm actually in Aurora, Colorado. So right outside of Denver. I was born and raised here. I moved around a little bit. I went to school in Las Vegas. That didn't work out too well. I always tell people I did my time and I left.
Yeah.
And then I actually lived in Florida for a little bit when our business just started. And then once things kind of got stabilized, and I actually had money to move, I moved right back.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So with that, it's important to kind of know when it's time to to move on because a lot of people, they'll just stay somewhere way too long,
Yeah.
So it's important to be able to know, that. So a little bit about the business that we're talking about with this interview. When did you start it? And because I think you started, your entrepreneurship journey in 2010s, but when did you start this business specifically and what inspired you to do so?
Yeah. So we started in 2018. So Alloi Progress Incubator, I'll just say Alloi from here on. Mm-hmm. Alloi started out as IH Health Nav. So that stood for Infinite Horizons Health Navigation. And the intent in 2018, all of that came from a horrible experience I had. Where basically I was at a dentist's office and I was about to lose a tooth because, long story short, because the dentist wanted to go on his trip to Mexico. So my tooth wasn't worth his time.
Wow.
However, since I had this healthcare company, I called up some people and I was like, no, like there's more to this. So I put the dentist on the phone with with somebody. And I was like, nope, you guys are going to figure it out. And just looking back on that, ended up saving my tooth because they went back and forth and came up with a weird medication that no one ever would have thought of that actually saved my tooth.
Wow.
So that kind of made me reflect. I'm like, wow, that's privilege. If I didn't have this company, I would have been walking around with the false tooth right now.
Right.
So that's where that came from, and offering that same service to people that can't afford it and that don't have that access to resources. So fast forward, we worked on that for about a year and we just had no traction at all. People were just like, well, yeah, health is cool and everything, but where do I get money from to even start? And, there were just so many gaps, and it was just repeatedly in the Black community that I kept seeing this, and I'm just like, okay, there has to be something more that I can do. We're not really moving. So I just made the decision to just talk to the board and be very ruthless. And I'm just like, look, we got to change. So if you're not on board, then get off the board and we'll put somebody on that is. And we are going to change to more directly serve the Black community in a more meaningful way than just this part of their life, because we're missing so much more. So that's when we changed to Alloi. And we made this decision to focus on economics based off of our experience with IH, of people just not having money. So we're like, hey, starting a business is a really good way to make money. And wouldn't it be nice if you had an advocate, if you didn't want to start a business, to help advocate for your career search and, those career things. So that's what we turned into.
That's awesome, man. So that I hear that inspiration was really meeting the need.
Yeah.
That's always, I think that's huge in business for anybody that's, thinking about going in business, which is a question that we'll get to. But I think that's huge when you see that there's something in the market that's a need that's not being met, and you say, hey, look, I know this, I'm going to provide that. So I love that when that's the inspiration, man, because I think that's one of those things that keeps you going, and it makes it worth it. You know what I mean? So, so now you kind of talked about the lack of traction, like in the beginning, but even in getting started, and maybe it has something to do with that, but in getting started, what was one of the most challenging things about starting the business? Like, okay, here it is. I want to do it now. I want to go from IH. I want to create this thing that is Alloi now. What was the hardest part about starting that?
There are a few things, but the hardest thing about starting this, I've started so many businesses just through through my other stuff that, it's just an afterthought sometimes. Like, oh, yeah, start this. Okay, then what are we going to do? Nonprofits are hard.
Yeah.
Nonprofits are hard. I felt like, like before I had graduated high school and I'm good. And then I just got snatched all the way back to pre-K. Starting this, just the sheer amount of paperwork, the regulatory compliance, just wrapping your head around it, and seeing the consequences of doing stuff wrong. You will definitely read the fine print. So that was hard. I would say the second hardest thing is coming up with the name for this. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting you say that. I serve on the board for a nonprofit here locally in Birmingham, and also I'm great friends with someone who started hers, and just around many different people who started their nonprofits, people I went to college with, and that's the common thread. Like it's so different when you're doing a nonprofit. And like you say, I think the biggest thing is that regulatory stuff. So yeah, when you said that, that's why I was nodding my head. It's like, oh man, I've been on the phone with some people in the thick of it, just creating it.
Yeah.
So now once you got it started now and it's going. So I guess kind of steamrolling ahead a little bit. what are some of the day-to-day challenges of just running the business or just being an entrepreneur in general?
Yeah, I mean, the day-to-day challenges for Alloi, it's a small team. It is a small team. I'm lucky that it's not just myself, but it's still a very small team, and we're spread out geographically. So sometimes just getting everybody in the same room is hard. But we have a mission that everybody believes. Every single person on that board believes. We're here for the Black community. And, I'm constantly reminded, like, this is why this organization exists. And we need to be doing something constantly. That's been the message for the past year, is like, no, we're not going to fail. Just keeping that energy up. It's hard work.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's so true. I think, the smaller the team is, and sometimes the larger the team, because a lot of times the bigger the team is going to be the more people who feel like they don't have to do as much, or can coast. And that's something you see in organizations. Like I say, I serve on the board for a nonprofit, but with that, it's always that constant, you're always on. That's the other part of that entrepreneurship. You're not clocking out, or, you're going to sleep with it. You're waking up with it.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of, okay, here's the goal, and this is what we're going to.
Mm-hmm.
So now we talked about the day-to-day challenges, but like, what is one of the most satisfying things about your business or being an entrepreneurship? Like, what is something or some things, multiple things that, it just brings you that joy or those satisfying qualities?
Yeah. I've been doing this for so long. That's changed. That answer has changed. It used to be, seeing those checks come in and knowing that you did this, you worked for this, you created the systems to be able to have a check to eat, and knowing where that whole farm to table sort of thing, and I found that wears off. And it's no longer even about money, and it's no longer even about I was able to do this, but where I'm at now, it's just being able to make an impact, seeing not the check that I get, though that is nice. And I can't wait till I can get a check from Alloi.
Right.
But, just seeing other people being able to grow off of this idea. This was just an idea, and to think that this came out of my head and the head of others who I've worked with, and now it's being able, we're able to reach someone that we've never met before in another state somewhere, that now has the resources, tools, and people behind, that have their back, that can go out and start a business and experience those initial feelings that I felt. So that sense of paying it forward.
Right. Yeah, I love that because it almost goes back to that. It's almost like that question kind of links back to the question of the inspiration,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like that very thing, or that why, knowing your why. And when you see that, man, it's that fuel. I kind of talked about it before when we talked about the inspiration behind business and going into entrepreneurship, is that fuel that it helps you go a little bit more. And those challenges that we talked about, seeing all the moments that it's like, okay, this is what I'm doing this for, to make that impact. It's like, okay, now I can get through the rough days a little bit better. So I love that. And that's always kind of a constant theme, even with these interviews, it's knowing that you're making an impact with someone, whether it's whether it's nonprofit, customer service based, whatever it is, individual one-on-one base or team, it's always knowing you're making an impact. So in the interview, a lot of it is coming out, but what is like some strict or not strict, but some a little short list of something that you would tell that person who wants to go in the business or start a business, or they're thinking about getting into entrepreneurship, but it's like, if I could just ask somebody who's doing it, what is some advice that you would give someone that's looking to get into business?
Yeah, and anybody watching this already knows what I'm going to say. That knows me is, and I swear I'm going to write a book titled this, but start shutting up and do it.
Oh, nice.
That's I mentor young adults. And that's kind of what I say. Some of them were taken aback, but I'm just like, we can sit here all day and analyze and plan, or we can do it and evaluate. So that's what I always encourage new entrepreneurs to do is, yeah, there's a little planning that goes into it. You don't want to just ready, fire, aim, but at the same time, you don't want to sit and waste so much time that you could be out there doing something, in learning versus conjecture. And maybe if I do this, then perhaps I can make this much money. Like that, that's not putting food on the table at all.
Right.
Just do it.
Yeah. For everybody watching this, go back and see previous episodes. And that's almost a common theme, especially for people who are out here doing it. It's like, hey, listen, one of the things I said when I started my journey of being an entrepreneur was like, maybe one of the things I regretted is not starting earlier. You know what I mean? And it's one thing you said that stood out so strong when you said that is that, we get stuck in that paralysis of analysis. Is we're trying to, everything, it's got to be perfect and this, well, I don't know this, I don't know. Well, do something, start moving. And again, like you said, when you start learning things as you go and as you grow. So I love that, man. And that's, again, people, that's sound advice. And that's something that's a common theme that you'll hear. And so that's right on, that's spot on with it. So now what's next for Alloi? What's next for you and your business, the nonprofit? What's on the radar?
What's on the radar for us? I want to keep growing. We recently started the Black Futures Fund. And we got a really amazing response from that. I wasn't expecting the response that we got at all. So I was kind of like, oh wait, what do we do? But again, it's about keeping momentum. We are now able to leave 40 Black businesses. So that's nice. 40 different businesses that we can help, registration, knock down those barriers so people can just come with their idea and they don't even have to worry about paying for registration.
Wow. That's awesome.
So what's next, setting that goal of 40, just so my original goal when I spoke to a board was 5.
Wow.
I want to start 5 Black businesses. We have the funding for 40, so, I would want to at least double that. And keep that going, just because that's something that keeps on giving. So that's what's next for us, is just keeping up the fundraising, keeping up applications coming in and getting in front of people and, letting them know that we're here, we exist. Outside of nonprofit, I consult, and whenever I'm consulting with the Black community, there seems to be this common thread that, there's grants out there. I've never seen one. And then I'm just like, well, let me see if I can make it real. So now, yes, there is one, and it's called Alloi. It's not a grant, but, it functions just the same way. You can get some stuff, those initial barriers knocked down for you. It exists. This one's real.
Right. I love that, man. Growth, man. That's a big thing. I say that often to my clients, and just in my little inspirational videos that I put out, I tell people, keep going, keep grinding, keep showing, keep shining, because that's the evolution, I think, of growth. And, it's kind of two-sided. You want to keep going and you want that growth and the shine for, for that satisfaction that you're meeting a need, but also for the haters. It's for the people who, oh man, you can't do that. That's not a good idea. Well, why do you want to do that? You can do this. You could be in the corporate world. You could do this. Like, okay, that's that second part of that. Keep showing and keep shining, man. So I love that growth. So with all this growth that is coming and that's on the horizon, Kelyn, I want you to take just a moment to tell people how they can find the business, how they can, get in touch with you, social media and everything. Just take this time and just tell people how they can reach you.
Yeah, so you can reach us at alloi.org, alloi.org. The Black Futures Fund, alloi.org/initiatives. It's the only one there. That is where we're putting all of our focus right now. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, but you may be disappointed. Our primary platform is Facebook for now, but we're also on Instagram. Feel free to reach out. Our email, that is just, email us anything. If you have a question about your business, all of our consulting is free. We don't charge our community for anything. We'll go to bat for you whenever we can, but that's indigo, like the color, INDIGO @alloi.org. Just send us an email, drop us a line. And if you're not a business person, but you think you may know somebody, instead of saying, hey, there's grants out there, say, hey, there's Alloi out
Right.
there that has your back.
I love that, man. Even with just doing the consultation, doing that free of charge, that's amazing. And I think, again, my every one of these interviews that I do, it just brings joy to me because there's so many things I hear and that is brought to light. And it was my whole purpose of doing this. This has been about, right now it's very trendy, right? Black business, and it's the pivotal moment for it. But this is something that's just been in my incubator for about a year and a half. And it's like, I want to do this when I do. It was going to be my personal YouTube at first until I started the business. And I was like, this is something I definitely want to do. So Kelyn, thank you so much, man, for taking the time to do this interview, man. I really appreciate it, man. And of course, all the information is going to be in the description. Anything else you want to leave the people with, man?
I think that's about it. Our application process is still going. So if you are thinking about starting a business, if you're looking at this, hey, should I start a business? I don't know about the registration fee. Now that you know, there's an application. There's no excuse. There's no excuse to start.
Love it. I love that, man. Thank you so much. And as always, people, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share. There's going to be more interviews coming. Go back and watch the previous interviews. And I thank you all for watching and keeping up. And we'll see you next time on another episode of Black Business Booming. Peace.